everybody, welcome to another episode of From What I Gather, where today we're making this gorgeous cold smoked salmon. If you catch a lot of salmon, it's a great recipe to have in your arsenal. It's classic, it's delicious, and everyone is gonna love it. So let's get started. Now the first thing I did was to freeze this for 2 days to kill any parasites that might be in there. Now as a young kid, I never really worried about it and I escaped unscathed, but as I get older, I think about it more and more. And it doesn't affect the quality of this at all to freeze for just a couple of days. Now that the salmon is thawed, I'm going to begin with the dry cure. And the dry cure I'm going to be using is a 50-50 mixture of any non-iodized salt, I'm using kosher today, and sugar. And you could use white sugar, brown sugar, or a combination of the two, which is what I'm going to do today. So I've got a cup of kosher salt, and I've got a half cup of brown sugar, and I'm going to add a half a cup, just enough, half a cup of white sugar. Now I'm going to mix this all together thoroughly and then coat the salmon with it. So I'll start with some plastic wrap and put down a nice solid layer of that cure. And toss that on there skin side down. And proceed to coat the top side with cure as well. Don't worry about using too much. You can't use too much. You can use too little though, so don't spare the cure. There. I want to kind of work that up these edges, make sure the sides get nice and salted. And then I'm going to wrap this up nice and tight. And on these edges here, I can kind of push that cure up the side as I go, and then pull the plastic wrap over and trap it in place there. I want to get this nice and tightly wrapped. The tighter the better. Excellent. Now, you want to put your salmon packets onto some sort of a tray or a dish that has a nice lip around it, because that salt's going to work a lot of liquid out of here overnight. In addition to that, I'm going to work out more liquid and compress this a little with another dish on top, to which I'm going to add some kind of weight, like a squash and a potato or a couple cans of albacore. Now this goes out in the refrigerator for 24 hours. The next stage of the recipe is the wet brine. And the purpose of the wet brine is to kind of rehydrate and puff the fish back up. That dry curing is meant to kill any bacteria in there, but it dehydrates the fish and makes it very firm. So we're going to put it in a wet brine to rehydrate it and return it to a raw fish texture, which is what we're looking for. So, to begin the wet brine, I'll start with 1 quart of ice cold water. For that, I've got 1/4 cup or 2.5 ounces of kosher salt, plain salt, and 1/8 a cup of white sugar. And I'll just stir that until everything is completely dissolved, and then I'll go get my cured fish out of the refrigerator and we'll put the two together. Let's take a look at our dry cured fish. Oh, you can immediately see all that liquid that came out of there. That's why we use this plate with a lip on it to catch that stuff. I'll go ahead and unwrap a piece and take a look. I can already feel it's very firm. The color is darkened up a little bit, and it's definitely dehydrated and thinner. So I'm going to take this to the sink and thoroughly rinse off all of the dry cure before putting it into the wet brine. Well, there's my nice rinsed and cured salmon. It's really pretty. Now, I'll simply pour the brine into there. And this goes back out in the refrigerator for another day. Day 3, and we're ready for the next step, which is a nice soak in cold, fresh water to kind of back the salinity down a little. I'm going to pour out the brine, and then I'm just going to let a stream of cold tap water run into this and let it overflow for about 5 minutes. Then I'm going to turn off that water and just let it soak for about another 5 minutes. So So after that 10-minute rinse and soak, what I have is lox, and this is ready to eat. I can slice it thin, get a bagel, some capers, and onions, have a party. But I'm making cold smoked salmon, so that means I got a couple of more steps to go. And the first of those steps is that I will place these on a wire rack so that air can get around on all sides of it, and I'll put this out in the refrigerator for another day or two until I get a nice tacky surface on here that the smoke can stick to. Well, I've nearly lost track of the days since I started this project, but this has been in the refrigerator for a day and a half, and the surface is now nice and dry and ready to take on the smoke. And since I'm cold smoking and I've got a lot of extra space in the smoker, I'm going to throw in a few blocks of cheese at the same time and have a nice snack plate when I'm done. When you're cold smoking this salmon, you can't allow the temperatures to get above 80 degrees Fahrenheit, so the old way I used to do it would be to put the racks up here on top of the smoker. Then I put a cardboard box over that, and the smoke would come through the vents on the top and fill that box with smoke and get the job done. But it did tend to get a little warm in there during the warmer months, so I was pretty limited on when I could do it. Well, a while back, my wonderful wife got me this little smoke generator, and I can set off to the side of the smoker, then run this silicone tubing into the housing in the smoker, fill it with smoke without heating it at all. And it's the first time I'm getting to use this guy, so I'm pretty excited to see how it comes out. So, just need to take the top off, I understand. Fill this chamber with wood pellets. I'm using some alder pellets. And put this back on, lock it in, and turn that on. And we'll see how that works here in a bit. Wow, that only took a few minutes, and that's really kicking out the smoke. I could see some little delinquents getting up to some shenanigans with a machine like this. But I'm just gonna pop that into the door of my smoker now. Alright, now we'll lower our cheese and fish down into there. Cover that up. And now it's really up to you how smoky you want your cheese and fish. I like about 4 hours of smoke, but play around with it and find your sweet spot. So the silicone hose that I had on there was causing the unit to overheat and the element was shutting off, so I wasn't getting constant smoke. So I just popped that off of there and sticking this straight in the door of my smoker, and now it is really kicking butt. Well, we've been going a couple hours. Just want to check how our temp's doing. Perfect. Alright, I think we're done here. Yeah. Looks pretty good. And now I'm going to take this and put it in the refrigerator until it's completely chilled off, and then give it a try. And for all of our effort, here is the finished product. It looks beautiful, and it smells great too. A nice light smokiness to it, very firm in texture. So let's slice into this thing and see how we did. We're just going to do very thin slices. Leave the skin behind. Oh boy, that looks great. Right off the skin. Beautiful. Take a look at that. Oh man. Oh, it is just velvety. The saltiness is just right. And that smoke, oh man, that is delicious. So let's put something together with this. Now let's see how we did. Hot dog! Let me tell you, even through all of those steps and all that time, the freshness of the fish carries through. It's preserved perfectly. That mild, cold smoke is absolutely phenomenal on here. Truly a classic and delicious dish, and that's as good as you're gonna find anywhere. Well, hopefully you can get out there and get yourself a beautiful salmon like this too. But even if you can't, I hope you try this, and I hope you love it. And if you do, please like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.